Hey all, welcome in. I'm Rad and today I'm going to show you how to mine efficiently using a tunnel bore like this one, and then I'm going to show you how to expand it into this much larger version. This video contains the material lists, instructions for building both a large and a small version of this machine, as well as all the information you need on how to start and run it. The schematics for both sizes will also be in the description. No, it does not work on bedrock, and TNT duping must be allowed and turned on for you to use this. This design was put together by Underlein using a tunnel bore by Yisibite and the Trident system by RadicalElder. Underlein's given me permission to make this tutorial, so thank you. Please remember to check the description and any pinned posts for helpful information, updates, and tips on how to use the tunnel bore. I'll try to answer questions, but can't guarantee if you ask me things that are already answered in the video that I won't say that's already in the video. Tunnel bores work by priming a piece of duped TNT, holding it until the right time, then using a slime launcher to throw the TNT into a wall or a landing spot. Like any tunnel bore, you'll need to remove lava and gravel from in front of the machine or it will break. Where you build the bore is up to you, but if you build it in a mesa for instance, you'll get more gold. If you build it above Y0, you'll end up with andesite, diorite, and granite instead of cobbled deep slate, but if you're after diamonds, build it low in the world with the target blocks at Y-54 and the TNT at -51. By far the most commonly used bore in Minecraft is Borkon's simple design. It's the design used by Mumbo Jumbo on Hermitcraft Season 7 and is the same bore Shulkercraft has a tutorial on with over 1 million views. It's also easily the most popular video on Borkon's own channel, so if you've seen a tunnel bore, this is likely the design that you're familiar with. The bore we're building today is cheaper, opens up a much larger area to expose more ores, and is easier to use. And here are the materials you'll need for the small tunnel bore. There are 2 schematic downloads for this tutorial in the description, and the first is for this small tunnel bore. It requires you to dig out only a 20 wide, 7 high, and 31 long area, although 16 if you're happy to dig out the trigger separately. It will do the rest, smashing a hole to then begin building a larger, full-size machine. I'm going to call the direction we want to go the front of this bore, and the side with the note block trigger the left of this bore, regardless of which way we turn while we're building it. So front always means the front of the machine, not the front of a block. Running the small bore will create a hole big enough for the larger one to be built, but not enough room in front of it to run it, so what I would suggest is you run the bore the length of the room, then disassemble it, move it over 10 or 15 blocks, and then run it again for the same length, creating a much wider room and plenty of area to work in. The small bore should be built so it ends up 2 blocks off the ceiling and 3 blocks from the floor. Building the small bore is almost exactly like building the large bore except for the scale, so if you're struggling with the large bore, come back to this one, as I use the same steps to create both. Start in the front right corner by leaving 8 blocks from the front of the room, and on the 9th, place 3 temporary blocks away from the wall. Then place 3 temporary blocks on top of that. You'll need 8 in front of the machine so it doesn't blow itself up, and a few away from the wall so you can move around it freely. Remove any temporary blocks except the top one. On the back and the left side of this block, place 2 end stone, and then continue the back line so there are 2 temporary blocks, 1 end stone, 2 temporary blocks, and another end stone, until you have 6 end stone on the back line in total. Now add an additional diagonal end stone on every other end stone on the front of the machine. So here's 1, and then we're going to skip this one, put another one here, skip this one, another one here, and skip the last. Now you can remove all the temporary blocks. Behind the front diagonal block in each section, place a dead coral fan with a TNT behind it. You should do this 3 times total. We're going to place a solid block on top of each of the back end stone with an extra off the side like this, and repeat that for all 3 modules. Then you're going to go behind the machine and add an extra solid block behind the ones that are diagonal from each other. Place a smooth stone slab on this block here, and repeat that on all 3 modules. Next, place the slime here and another behind it, with one up on top of the right side of the solid block, and repeat that again for all of them. And just remember you can pause if I go too fast. Add a glazed terracotta to the TNT side of this back slime block, then add a detector rail that's facing front to back on the glazed terracotta, with a minecart on each of those rails. Place an iron trap door on the lower half of the TNT here, and it should automatically place in the open position. Repeat that on each module as well. Add a solid block on the back of each glazed terracotta, and then use the left side of each of these blocks to place 3 pistons facing toward the front of the machine. And remember, when I say left side, I mean relative to the machine, not the block itself. Place a sticky piston next to the slime here, and repeat that in the center module, but don't add it to the left side module. Get onto this solid block here and look down at the TNT. Place an observer facing down and then go around to add a piston that faces the block over the TNT, like this. And then continue that for all 3 modules. Go here, observer looking down, around, piston facing there, onto this block, observer down, and piston facing over the TNT. Add a redstone block next to the 2 sticky pistons we placed earlier, and no redstone block on the left module where we did not place a sticky piston. Place another glazed terracotta behind the 2 redstone blocks, and on the back of the terracotta add observers facing left, and then off that observer another facing right as shown. Repeat that for both glazed terracotta. Connect the furthest back observers with 5 slime blocks, then add 4 more to this observer face, and 4 more on the other end. On the 2 slime block ends, face observers away from the machine here on this side, and over here on the other. Now add slime blocks here and here on the sticky piston faces. Now place 3 slime blocks as shown on the back side of this observer and do the same pattern on all 3 modules. Go to this observer and add a piston facing forward, add another after this observer here, and another here. Instead of a piston, add a solid block behind this last observer. 2 slime blocks on this piston and the solid block behind the cart. Repeat that for all 3 modules. Then come around to the front so you can add a piston in the gap between slime blocks as shown, and repeat that for all 3 modules. Add a redstone block to the top of this observer, and then 2 solid blocks behind that. Do the same for the middle module, redstone block here, and 2 solid blocks behind it. On the last module, flip that around so that the redstone block is on the far back side of the machine like this. You can check how the other 2 are redstone block block, and this one is block block redstone. Add a redstone block to the back of this slime here, this one here, and this one over here. Connect the redstone and solid block line with slime as shown, and there's no need to extend the slime past the last block as there's nothing to connect to on the far right. Above the 2 extended sticky pistons, face an observer to the front of the machine like this. There's no sticky piston on the left module, so skip that. Add 2 sticky pistons facing backwards on the back of those observers. The second one will extend automatically as it's next to the redstone block. On the available side of that sticky piston's extended arm, place a piston that faces the machine's front, and do this for both extended sticky pistons. Also, you're going to add 1 extra piston to the end of the slime line here, as shown. And this is what the machine should currently look like. Let's take a slow look so you can pause, confirm, and check everything now. I'll show you all the sides and views that I can. Once you're sure that's all correct, let's build the trigger. We're going to start with a temporary platform by walking off the back of the leftmost slime, falling forward 1 block and placing 2 above that. Add 2 more blocks to the right side of this and another 6 behind. That'll create a 3x7 total platform here. It should look like this, but if it's confusing, just add a large platform with 2 air blocks below, so you'll have space to work. Extend the back right block of this platform by an additional 7 blocks, and then add 1 on the left side of the last block, like this. Place your note block here on the second left side block. Face an observer from the middle into that note block, and then another observer from the back of the platform into the first, like that. Add 3 slime blocks to the front of the platform, then add 3 solid blocks here as shown. Add a sticky piston under the shape of those 3 blocks, and add a slime block on the front of that. Add another slime block beside the sticky piston, turn around and place another sticky piston facing into that slime block. That should look like this underneath the solid block here. Place 2 slime blocks off the back side of the sticky piston, then a redstone block on the very back middle of the temporary platform here. On this slime block, face an observer to the right side of the machine, then face another observer into the solid blocks here. Now you can remove the entire 3x7 temporary platform, leaving only the 1 wide extra section at the back. From the front, place a piston on the 4th block back facing the front of the machine. Face an observer into that from the top, and another facing into that observer from the back side. Add a slime block behind the piston and a sticky piston on the left side of the slime block facing the back. Place a piston on the last block, 1 away from and facing the slime block, and add a slime block to the left side of that. Add a cauldron on the slime block here, and remove all of the temporary blocks. Finally, add a piston above this slime block here, another under this observer, and on the front of this slime, all facing the front of the machine. Once again, let's take a quick look at how this trigger section should look. This machine will assemble itself. Right now you'll see the TNT is next to the iron trap door and not the glazed terracotta. When the note block is pressed once, the back of the bore will all move forward and connect properly. This saves you from having to do any redstone tricks to ensure the TNT doesn't ignite early. Let's press the note block once. When this is all done moving, you'll see the glazed terracotta is now directly beside the TNT, and the trapdoor is next to the coral fan. This confirms that everything is working properly and you're ready to use the tunnel bore. Press the note block once, but don't spam it. Only press it one at a time or you're going to break the machine and have to reset it, and the answer to the question, what happens if I spam the note block, is rebuild it how I've shown you before. Once you've confirmed the bore works, press the note block once each time you want to run it. Wait for the TNT to explode before pushing the note block again. You don't want the machine to move too close to the wall or the TNT will blow the front bits up, and again you'll be rebuilding the whole thing. To open enough space to easily build the larger bore, I'd simply suggest tearing down the small bore after you've built it and cleared about 130 blocks long. Then place it about 15 blocks over from the previous line and run it again another 120 blocks. Now let's make the large version. And here are the materials you'll need for the large tunnel bore. Clear out a space that's at least 120 wide, 7 high, and 33 long. The top of this bore should end up 2 from the ceiling, but the target blocks can touch the floor. We're going to start this build by placing a temporary block 3 blocks from the right side wall, 9 blocks from the front, and on the 4th block above the floor, exactly like we started the small bore before. Place end stone on the back and left side of this temporary block, facing where the rest of the machine will be built. And I'll use the words front, left, back, and right like I did before, talking about the front as where the machine is pointed. Between the 2 diagonal end stone here, we're going to place 2 temporary blocks, an end stone, another 2 temporary blocks, and so on down the machine as we did before. Each diagonal is 1 module, and we need 18 of these in total for this size bore. Remember, you're going to do a diagonal one, skip one, a diagonal one, skip one, and another diagonal all the way down. Continue this pattern until you have all 18 of the diagonal end stone blocks in, and leave at least 5 blocks of empty space on the other side of the room so we can build the trigger later. Let's get all of those diagonals in. Remember, diagonal skip one, diagonal skip one. Now we can break all of the temporary blocks. On the back side of the end stone where they connect, place a dead coral fan and then a TNT in back of that on all of the diagonal pieces like this. Coral fan, TNT, coral fan, and TNT, and do that all the way until you reach the other end of the bore. Remember, the small bore is a simple version of this, so if you get lost, go back to that. This bore is for the most part modular. What that means is the machine repeats itself every 6 blocks, and you'll see that the 3 end stone blocks and the 1 TNT setup per module that you've already completed. I'll mark the first module with iron blocks, the second with end stone, and the third with more iron blocks so you can clearly see the separation of the modules. For the modular parts of this farm, I'm going to show you how the right end and the connecting ones are built. You'll then continue these same patterns all the way down the bore until you've completed the last module. Place a solid block over each back end stone block, and then place one on the left side as shown. Place 2 more behind these 2, but not the one near the TNT. Place an upper slab off the solid block here, diagonally up from the coral fan, and remember to repeat this on every module for the whole length of the machine as you see me do here with the first and second module. Place a slime block between the solid blocks here, opposite the TNT, and then add another slime block off the back of that one. Place 1 more slime block on the right side of the smooth stone here, and again repeat that for every module. Next, we're going to add a glazed terracotta onto the right side of this slime, and then add a detector rail on top facing front to back, and a minecart on that. Then take your iron trapdoor and put it against the lower left side of the TNT like so. It should flip open automatically like this one's done. And once again we repeat that all the way down with glazed terracotta on the slime, detector rail, and cart, and then the iron trapdoor on the bottom of the TNT. We're going to put a solid block on the back of that terracotta and then a piston on the side of that smooth stone facing the 2 slime blocks like this. Put a sticky piston facing the back of the bore on this smooth stone. Then get up on top of the machine and face the TNT from this solid block, where you place an observer facing down like this on the side of the TNT, and then go around and put a piston on that observer facing above the TNT like this. And once again we're going to repeat that with the observer facing down, and then we're going to go around with the piston and place it like this so it faces above the TNT. On the side of the sticky piston, add a redstone block, which will extend the sticky piston. Place another glazed terracotta on the back of that redstone block. Then face an observer to the left of the machine off the back of that terracotta, as I'm doing here. And then place another observer off that facing in the opposite direction. Take a moment now to review what you have compared to me as I move around the machine. Now's a great time to make sure you've completed this all the way down the row. Starting from the second module in from the right, connect the back observers with 5 slime blocks like this. You're going to continue that all the way down the line until all of the observers are connected this way. On the first observer to the right, the module that we're building, only put 4 slimes here like so. Instead of a 5th slime, place an observer looking toward the back of the bore, go underneath and place a redstone block under the last slime block. Place a sticky piston off this back redstone block, then put a slime on the observer next to the piston and another above that, and a third off the back of the upper one like this. I'll show you again, one here, here, and there. Add a piston facing the front of the farm off this observer, and then put one in front of each of these left-facing observers like so. Behind the cart, add 2 slime blocks to the solid block and the piston. Place a piston facing the front of the machine in between those slime blocks and the outer blocks, like so. Place a solid block on this observer, and another coming off the back of it for every observer except the furthest one on the right. Connect those blocks with slime blocks as shown, and it should look like this. Behind the slime and to the left of each piston, add a redstone block. In front of each set of 2 solid blocks on the slime line, add a redstone block here. On top of this extended sticky piston, add an observer facing forward. And on the back of that, add 2 sticky pistons facing the back of the bore. The second one should extend automatically from the redstone block. Where that sticky piston ends, place a regular piston facing the front of the machine here. And cover the redstone dot of these left-facing observers with a slime block. Let's give this a quick look from a few directions with the full board done up through this step. Take the time to pause, make sure everything is correct up through this step. Go all the way down to the left end opposite where we've been working. Notice the redstone block on this very far end module goes to the back of the system, not the front, and the last observer faces the back of the machine like the one on the opposite end. Okay, let's go back to the right side. These next steps do not get copied to each module, only do these once. Place a honey block above the sticky piston that we left hanging out, add a slime block to the sticky piston, and then another sticky piston off the right side of that, with 2 more slime blocks on that sticky piston facing the back. Then place a regular piston above the slime block here facing the front of the machine. We're going to do and undo a bit of work here, so follow along closely. Place 2 temporary blocks on the left side of this slime here. Remove the first and then place an observer into the second one like this, facing left. Then remove the slime block here. You have to do this before you remove the temporary block. Now you can safely replace the slime block behind the observer. On the bottom of the furthest back slime block, place a redstone block, add a sticky piston on the left side of the redstone block like this, then place a honey block on top of that sticky piston, a slime block like this, and a regular piston on top of the slime block facing back toward the bore. Add 2 temporary blocks on the left of that slime block as we did before, and break the first, replace it with an observer, break the slime, break the temporary block, and replace the slime here. And this is how it should all look for now. Add a slime block to this side of the observer and then another beside that, and add 4 more going to the left side of the machine. Place a redstone block at the end of that slime line and then a sticky piston facing the back on that like this. From the back of the machine, look at the slime row and the middle 2 blocks of these 4 slime. We'll place a target on the right and a sticky piston on the left. I place a regular piston here, but it's a mistake. We'll fix it shortly. Place a sticky piston like that. For your sanity, break the slime block here. You'll need to re-add this block when the machine is done, but if you make any mistakes on this connection line that we're about to make, this will ensure it doesn't break the entire machine and make you start completely over. Add a honey block to the top of the sticky piston just at the end, and then add 2 slime blocks to the side of the sticky piston and the extended head like this, and then an observer facing left matching the one we did previously. We can easily add this slime block behind the observer now, and then add a regular piston on top of that facing the front. You can see we're just doing exactly the same as the first time now. Similarly, we're going to continue the sticky piston by adding 4 extra blocks, the same as before. Again, place a sticky piston and a target beneath the middle of the slime line like shown, and then add a redstone block on the end like this and repeat all the steps from the last redstone block. That's going to be the sticky piston, honey, 2 slime blocks, observer facing left, slime behind that, piston on that, and again continue the slime line all the way down. Just remember all of these ones that are upward facing next to the target blocks are sticky pistons, not regular. Once you've repeated that pattern all the way to the end of the machine, you should end up here with the last slime block ending at the same line as the last slime block on the 2 slime rows in front of you. Now's a good time to remember to check that this redstone block has been swapped with the last solid block on this last module. In all the other modules, it's redstone solid block, but in this module, that's not going to be the case. You're going to go switch this one with this one, so it's a solid block here and a redstone block here. Here's a quick look at the whole thing before we build the trigger. Don't forget to reconnect the slime block once the whole line is built. You should add this back now if you haven't, right here. Make a temporary row of blocks over the last 3 slime blocks on the line, add 2 temporary blocks to the front, and 4 to the back of each so that you have a 3x7 platform to work from. Break the temporary block above the last slime block and replace it with a redstone block. Put a note block on top of the temporary block in front of that. Face an observer into that note block from the middle of the platform, and face another observer into the first facing the front. Cover the 3 temp blocks closest to the machine with slime like this, and add a solid block on the right side of the observer, one above it and one behind it. Add a sticky piston under the solid block, a slime block on the back, and a slime block on the side like this, with another sticky piston facing into it so it all looks like this. Place 2 more slime blocks at the back of the trigger against the slime and the sticky piston, a redstone block behind the slime like this. Behind the 2 solid blocks face an observer back into the right of the farm where we started, and on the opposite side of those 2 solid blocks face an observer into the front one here. From the back right corner of the temporary platform, extend the temporary platform by 7 blocks like this, then carefully break all of the temporary blocks, but don't break any slime or the redstone block while you do. Then starting from the front, place a regular piston on the 4th block back facing the bore. Point an observer down into that one with another observer pointing into the first here. Place a slime block behind the piston and add a sticky piston to the left side of that, facing the back of the machine. Add a temporary block to the left of the last temporary block and put a slime block on top of it. Spin around here so you can put a regular piston beside that slime block facing the front of the farm. And now you can break all of the temporary blocks. Under this observer, place a piston facing the front of the machine. You're going to place another one on the back of the observer here, and then another on this slime right there facing the front. Alright, let's take a look at this so you can check your work now. The whole board should look exactly like this now. The tunnel bore is now complete. The first time you press the note block to activate it, the bore will become primed. What that means is the TNT will move into position to be fired, but won't light and fire the first time. The back flying machine will push forward one and it's all ready to go. When you're sure it's built exactly like mine, press the note block 1 time and do not spam the note block. The bore will self-assemble and lots of things will move. This is normal. What you should see is that the TNT is now directly next to the terracotta, and the minecart is above and 1 over from the TNT. There must be at least 8 blocks of empty air in front of the bore. If you don't check this, the bore can explode too close to your machine and blow it up. Check that you have 8 blocks of clearance. When you're ready, press the note block 1 time. This time the TNT is ignited and it will fire. Do not stand in front of the tunnel bore during the TNT activation or it will hit you. Check that all of the bores fired. You're now ready to use the bore as much as you want. Press the note block once, wait for the TNT to explode, and then press it again. Unlike most tunnel bores, you do not have to activate this one through the note block trigger. If you like, throw a trident at any of the target blocks or simply shoot it with an arrow to activate it. Do not repeatedly shoot the block or trigger the machine, as this will break it too. Remember to clear the lava and gravel from in front of the machine before you push it each time. Schematics will be in the description along with any updates and notes I need to pass along once the video is live. Thanks again to Underlein, Yisibite and Reschenmachine for creating such an awesome machine and letting me showcase this final design. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.